Hello everybody, Necromancy for Kids here, this time with a different kind of video. I just felt really nostalgic playing Go format so much lately, and felt like sharing something with you guys that maybe some people would find interesting or maybe would inspire them to talk about their own Yu-Gi-Oh experiences. But what I'm going to share with you today is my first deck that I took to a local tournament. This isn't technically my first deck, but if I put in the title first, my first tournament winning deck, it's gonna sound like I went to like a big tournament and actually won, but this was actually a local tournament at the local library back in like 2004, 2005. As you can see, because I played this deck when I was a little kid, it's really not that great, but I have a lot of nostalgia for the cards in it and duels that I played with it, and I just felt like sharing it with you guys today. If you have your own experiences or you want to share your own very first decks that you played, be sure to let me know. My true first deck, I don't really remember what was in it. I can only remember a couple of cards, but it literally had over 100 cards because there wasn't the 60 card limit in the past. But this was the first deck that I took to a tournament and recreated to the best of my knowledge. And you'll notice that there's a lot of weird cards in here, as well weird ratios, because as a kid I was not allowed to buy single cards online, so I literally had to just get lucky with packs and make decks based on what I got from those. With that, let me start off the deck profile. So, first card, this was the boss monster of the deck, and it is Levia Dragon Daedalus. You could send Umi in your side field graveyard to destroy all other cards on the field. This card would just wreck everybody as soon as it hit the field. I won a good number of games with this deck using this card. In a normal water deck, you'd probably want to play more than one of these, but unfortunately I only had the one copy, and I was lucky to have that. Then I had one copy of Mobius the Frost Monarch. You all know what Mobius does. I only had one of him, but I believe at the time he was my favorite Monarch, followed by Brandmark and Zalborg. And then I have one copy of Giga Gaga Gigo, because with well, obviously he has those huge stats, but alongside Legendary Ocean, you can normal summon it without having to do a tribute. And for the same reason, I had a Terror King Salmon. Obviously, if I had more than one Giga Gaga Gigo, I would play multiple copies instead of Terror King Salmon. But I only had Giga Gaga Gigo and Terror King Salmon, and one copy both in my collection. Then I had two Mother Grizzly in this deck as well. Searches out a whole lot of the monsters that are in it, and you'll see some of them make sense and some of them are kind of weird. I have two Nightmare Penguin, which you'll hear me talk about in one of my recent videos, the Drowned Goat deck list. Really a decent butt on it with the 1800 defense. Gets even higher with Legendary Ocean. And then if it's flipped face up, you return one monster your opponent controls to the hand. Then you have Amphibious Balgroth MK3, level 4 machine with 1500 attack and 1300 defense. And while Umi's on the field, you can attack your opponent's life points directly. I thought this card was so overpowered at the time, just being able to summon it and attack the opponent directly. I don't think it technically won me any games that way, but it's better with a stall strategy, which I didn't use in this deck. Then, just like now, I don't really like stall. Then I have one copy of Gale Lizard, 1400 attack, 700 defense, Reptile Water with flip. Target one monster your opponent controls, return that target to the hand. If you want to think about it, it's like a really weird version of Dekoichi that bounces instead of draws. It has the 1400 attack, but it doesn't work that great. Then you have Lakunga, level 4 plant with 1700 attack, 500 defense. And you can banish 2 water monsters from the grave to special summon 1 Lakunga token in attack position with 700. I had no idea how to use this card, and I just tried to like go full aggro with it when I played it. Originally, when I started using it, I thought you were supposed to like use it to have tribute fodder, but then I'm like, oh wait, but they go in attack position, and I just took a buttload of damage for no reason. I really had no idea how to play this card at the time. Then there's Mermaid Knight, 1500 attack, water, with while Umi's face on the field, this card can attack twice during the same battle phase. Actually pretty decent, 1700 attacking twice is pretty darn good, and it can be searched off of Mother Grizzly as well. Then you have Penguin Soldier, one of my all-time favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Level 2 Aqua Flip, 750 attack, 500 defense. When it's flipped, you target 2 monsters, up to 2 monsters in the field, and return them to the hand. Sometimes I would even return my own monsters, or I would return Penguin Soldier itself and then an opponent's monster. Against decks that like to swarm the field, it was pretty cool, and I think that one time I won a game by attacking directly with Penguin Soldier. I can't remember, but I feel like that happened. Then I had a copy of Sangan and Tribe Infecting Virus. I got lucky to have that. And 1 Yomi ship, level 3 Aqua, 800 attack, 1400 defense. Was destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard. Destroy the monster that destroyed this card. And then I had 1 Gagagigo, level 4, 1850 attack. And 1 Sea Serpent Warrior of Darkness, 1800 attack and 1500 defense. Technically, these are kind of interchangeable, because even though Gagagigo has the slightly higher attack, Sea Serpent Warrior of Darkness has the higher defense. But the real reason that I played one of each is because I only own one of each. Then I had 2 Legendary Ocean in this deck. All water monsters gain 200 attack defense, reduce the level of all water monsters in both players' hands on the field by 1. I think most people know what that does. Then I had a copy of Big Wave, Small Wave. Destroy all face-up water monsters you control, and you can special summon water monsters from your hand up to the number of monsters destroyed by this effect. So you do something like destroy your Mother Grizzly and your Nightmare Penguin, and you get to special summon Levia Dragon and Giga Gagagigo. I don't really think this is nowadays. I don't think this was a good fit for the deck, but I used it as a kid, and again, as you can imagine, I used it completely wrong. And yeah, I don't think this. Actually, no, wait. I think the final duel of that tournament where I brought this deck, actually I used this and I won the game because of that, because I summoned a Levia Dragon. I think that's what happened. So never mind. I actually might have used this card to good effect. And then as a kid, I had 1 copy of Graceful Charity and Pot of Greed. I didn't even know that Delinquent Duo existed at this point, because nobody I knew ever owned one, and at most I might have seen it in like a Yu-Gi-Oh catalog, and I saw that it cost a whole bunch of money, so I definitely wouldn't have gotten it, and I definitely didn't pull cards from that set. Then I've got Heavy Storm, of course, and a Mystical Space Typhoon, and then I had a Lightning Vortex in my deck, Premature Burial as well, and a Snatch Steal. Then I had 2 Salvages, target 2 water monsters with 1500 or less attack graveyard, add them to your hand. Thankfully I had, thankfully for the purpose of this build, I had 2 copies of this, in can bring back stuff like Gale Lizard, which has OK Attack, the Mermaid Knight, Nightmare Penguin, Penguin Soldier, and Yomi Ship to reuse. Then I had one Swords of Revealing Light, and you all guys all know what that does. And I didn't have 3 copies of Legendary Ocean, and in fact, when I was using this deck, I was actually borrowing 1 copy of Legendary Ocean from my friend, and I had to give it back to him after the tournament. But instead of a 3rd copy or terraforming or anything like that, I had 1 copy of Umiruka. All water monsters gain 500 attack but lose 400 defense, which works very bad with Nightmare Penguin. And obviously it only has some minor synergy with things like Mermaid Knight, Bugroth, because I mean they're going to be 2000 attack, but they're not going to get their effect. So it kind of worked a little bit better with Lakunga, I guess. But yeah, I ran 2 Legendary Ocean and 1 Uruka. Then I had Bottomless Trap Bowl. I thought this card was the most amazing thing, and it did win me, or not win me any duels, but I used it quite a lot in the tournament. 1 Call of the Haunted, 1 compulsory evacuation device for removal, Dust Tornado. Strangely enough, I had a copy of Magic Cylinder in this deck because I owned one, and I thought it was one of the most overpowered cards at the time. As a kid, like, your opponents don't really think about this card and they just kind of ram in, so it is a little bit better when your kid's playing around, but it's not the most amazing card. And then I somehow had a copy of Mirror Force and 1 copy of Sakuretsu Armor and Torrential Tribute. And then even though I only had 2 Legendary Ocean and no way to search it in this deck, I still played 1 Tornado Wall for a total of 41 cards. And you can only activate Tornado Wall while Umi is facing on the field, and while Umi is facing on the field, you take no battle damage from attacking monsters. This is destroyed when Umi leaves the field. So I actually stalled out really hard in a couple of games with Tornado Wall because the opponent just didn't have a way to answer it. And if you don't have a way to answer it, you just can't lose the duel, really, because your life points are never going to go down. So eventually I drew into some of my removal, like Penguin Soldier or Nightmare Penguin or Lightning Vortex, and was able to push to finish off the game. As a kid, this card was actually pretty powerful, but very inconsistent in this deck. Then I didn't actually own any fusion monsters. This is just random crap down here, but this deck doesn't use fusion monsters, and I only owned stuff like Fusionist at the time. I didn't really own any fusions at all, so I definitely didn't bring in a fusion deck to the tournament. But so this is the deck that I used in my very first tournament, and I won that tournament. It was a local tournament again, but I felt really happy about it. And later, if you guys want to hear about it, I made a really crappy Chaos deck that didn't have BLS because I didn't own it, and to me it was like a mythical card that you could only acquire if you were super rich. And other than that, I also had Giant Germ in the deck. So a Chaos deck with Giant Germ, it was really janky. Let me know if you guys want to hear about that or more of the decks that I used in my childhood or early on in Yu-Gi-Oh! I played the game, I think, from 2004 until 2015, I believe, when I quit, and then I came back to GOAT format about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5, I'm not 100% sure, but got nostalgic for the old way that the game was played. Really didn't like the spammy effects of cards, and I felt like Konami at the time when I quit was just really, they didn't care about the health of the game as much as their own wallets, which they're a company, so it makes sense. But anyway, this was the deck. Thank you guys for listening. And again, if you'd like to share your own first decks in the comments, take care.